everybody, welcome back with the Plapper. Platypus is the name, and today I wanted to go over the 4 early game characters that I think you should focus on. Now, before we get too far into it, I do want to say all the characters are viable. Don't take this as any of these characters that I don't mention aren't good, but I wanted to just do a list of like, here are ones that I want to make sure you don't skip, ones that are worth putting in your team to get the JP, because later on, when you start unlocking the ability to actually unlock skills and to get ultimate abilities, you're going to really want the JP banks on these characters. That way you can start utilizing them right away. But really quickly, before we jump into the video, I have one question for you. Do you hate Raid Shadow Legends? Good, because now is the time to fight back. By using my link down below to download the game, you not only get to support a simple janitor on their path to becoming a content creator, but you get to join in the fight to take money out of the pockets of the big gotcha companies. And even better, if you're one of the first 5 people to download the game using my code and hit account level 30, you'll win $20 directly from the sponsor. What are you waiting for? Join the fight and help me take what's rightfully ours! So click my link right now to start. Thanks again to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring the video. So we're gonna do the top 4, in my opinion, and we're gonna do them in order of like 4, 3, 2, and then 1, okay? And also, just be aware of potential spoilers. I'm not gonna talk about anything that seems like it's a big deal, any story stuff, but I have party members, so you might be able to see party members that are ones you haven't seen yet. Nothing groundbreaking in my opinion, but still, just kind of be forewarned. So all the characters I'm talking about can be completed before you get to the Master of All quests. So this is considering primarily the early game. So, you know, the fame, wealth, and power, and then there's one that doesn't require any of them that'll be a little bit harder to get, but it is obtainable pretty early as well. So we're keeping it focused on the early game for you. And the very first character that I thought was probably one of the really good ones that I wasn't initially impressed with, and then they've continued to be better and better, is Delidia here. So Delidia you can get after the Master of Power 2. I wrote it down just in case I forget. So when you come through her skills here, they don't initially seem busted. She's a very, very good bow user, but let's just talk about the things that are very good. One, the ability to lower speed is relevant. This tends to be a bit better if you are going to try to break them and you want another character to get another turn before breaking. Like, it doesn't usually come up too much, but it is something that is semi-relevant. But she's kind of just a pretty decent breaker, even though she's narrow. I would say she's worse than Fen at this job, but she has a few things that help her stand out. One, deal bow damage to random foe 2 times. Not the best skill, but it gets the job done. The ability to put a foe to sleep. I don't really like this as well. Deal bow damage to a foe, then move to the back row. This sounds really cool, but you need to put in some work to make this actually pretty decent. You're going to want, I think, specific combos that you want to move to the back row and another character wants to move to the front row to make this kind of interesting. But it's a cool ability. I'm just not exactly sure how much I'm interested in it yet, because you could always just switch to the back row and have the character that's in the back row actually attack as well. And this isn't the craziest skill. Lowering elemental defense for 2 turns is not insane, but it is relevant. But then we get to kind of the good stuff here. So the ability to deal ice damage to a foe 2 times, that just, for me, that's been pretty relevant. My protagonist isn't Scholar. I don't even remember if Scholar has ice. I think it's like wind, light, and fire. So ice has actually been semi-rare to come by, and so having the ability to do 2 ice is pretty good, and also having the ability to do 2 bow is pretty good. But then she also has Devastating Shot, and this is probably going to be your first skill that you use that will give you the ability to just hit 9999 damage. It's just a very powerful skill, especially in the early game. But honestly, the reason why she's the 4th and not higher up is the other characters that I think are all pretty busted. I think the reason she made it to the 4th spot, even though I'm not a big fan of a lot of these skills, is because of her ultimate technique. Is probably my favorite ultimate technique in the game currently. I'm sure there will be other ones, but lower the physical attack and defense of all foes for 2 turns. Then you raise the physical attack and defense of all allies for 4 turns. So Obviously, if you have a bunch of magic, this is not really the character you want to bring, even though she does have the mind sap, kind of a weird little combo there, but like, or a non-bow. But this is really, really good because obviously you're going to see another one like this a little bit later. But being able to lower enemies' defenses while raising your attack for all allies in one action is massive. This is very good for the turn economy. But what makes this even better than a character that I like even more that we're going to talk about in a second, but I like this skill on her more, is it also lowers physical attack and raises your physical defense. So this is like a perfect offensive skill to help you do a bunch of damage when you're about to break the foe. And if you do it like the turn before you break them, then you break them, then like if you get the turn extension, or even with her ability here to extend enfeeblement, I believe works with this. It means when they come back up, like, and they're able to attack you again, you'll also get the advantage of like a really big defensive boost of both lowering their physical attack and having physical defense. Absolutely an awesome skill. And I don't keep her on the front line a bunch, but she is just very solid. When a foe's actually broken, coming in and dealing a big hit is actually pretty good. Also, don't underestimate, especially in the early game, a physical attack plus 50. This is pretty big. If you look at every character I have, I don't want to go through all of them, but there's only 2 with physical attack plus 50. The protagonist can as well, but this is actually pretty rare. And like, if you look at equipment, like right now, she only has 201 physical attack total, and even with a weapon, it's 270. So it's like, it's like a 20% damage increase or an attack increase. So that's actually a lot early on. Absolutely a character that I think is worth investing in, but she's not broken. If you don't like her, I could totally understand skipping her. But for the next 3, I really think you're gonna want to use them a lot. So coming in at number 3 is Viator here. I think that's how you say his name. You get him after you do the Flames of Restoration, and then he is like the very first one, and then he's in Valor. So he's actually, you can get him pretty darn easily, super early. And the only reason he's not higher is, well, I think he's the best damage dealer that I've had in the game so far, but he's a little, it takes him a little bit to come online, and it could be very awkward. You kind of need to build a team around him, I feel like, to make it work. But he absolutely starts to pop off, and he has one of the best ultimate techniques, in my opinion, if you get it to work, but it's finicky. But besides that, all of his skills are actually pretty good. Provoke is a very solid skill to have. I'll admit, Provoke is the worst version of this. You'd rather have Goad, where you lower the accuracy of the foe, but you could always fix that later on when you get to master skills. You know, simple 2 sword hits, that's fine. The ability to raise your own evasion, that's pretty darn good. He has both evasion and parry, so he's able to tank up pretty well. But I don't feel like you need to do that too much, if I'm being honest. But parry is honestly just really good attack. Parry is like triple as good as like Tressa's is. And this is like, this is just super good. But then we get to some pretty good stuff here. A pretty powerful spear attack, which is awesome, does great damage. And unless you act faster next turn, doesn't always come up, but it could be good, again, if you want to, if they're like weak to spear, you could hit one, then you could use a bunch of, you know, BP to then break them, so your whole team is guaranteed to get like their turns first. It has its uses, but also it's like his main poke for spear damage. Charging Strike deals sword damage twice. It's targeted, so it's not random. So it's going to be your main thing for breaking shields most of the time. Then it's more potent if attacking from the back row, which in the way I assume this works is if you start the turn of the back row and you switch forward and then attack, that's how it'll work. That would give you the potency. Honestly, this just hits very hard. It's one of the best, like 18 SP cost skills in the game. It hits hard. You have to, it's like, again, it's kind of finicky because you don't get to use it every turn if you want the maximum damage, but this thing will hit pretty darn hard. And then Talon Strike, very good against one target. Does okay against multiple targets, but it does great sword damage to random foes 3 times. This is your big payoff damaging hit, especially in the super early game. Then he gets the physical attack, which is good. Elemental counter, which is pretty rare, and elemental defense. So kind of a fun, interesting take, because he has high elemental defense with elemental counter, and you can get parry on him. So he can kind of just dodge all forms of damage. And honestly, Foresight is kind of busted. Whenever this character is attacked, they have a 25% chance to restore BP. If you dodge the attack, it still counts as being attacked, right? That is all going to be That's all going to count. So every time an enemy basically takes an action, you have a 25% chance to gain BP. I don't know if this is good enough to put it on every character, something like that, but it is absolutely, it's something that you notice quite a bit, especially when you use Provoke. But where he really pops off and he really comes online, in addition to just being pretty good, is the Fluid Stance. This, it reads kind of weak, but you're just not understanding how much damage this does. Deal damage with equipped weapon 2 times when evading or parrying attacks. So you need to either evade or parry. This is very difficult to actually get to go off. So the way I have it set up for me, my character, I have him fully equipped with evasive stuff. So he has a evasion of 425, right? Every other character is like in the hundreds, and he's at 425. So he evades a lot. So that's my favorite way to do that. That way you don't need to do a bunch of prep. But if you don't have a bunch of prep, you're basically going to want to use like a 4 charge of parry, like, you know, sorry, 3 BP to get a full charge of parry. That way you have 7 physical things that you can deflect. Then you want to use Fluid Stance. So, and ideally you want to use Fluid Stance at level 2, because the reason this skill is so awkward is you have to use this, and then if they don't attack you, like if they do single target attacks against other characters, then he doesn't get to evade or parry. So you kind of also want to provoke, and you kind of want to parry, and you kind of want to use this. So it's very awkward to get these things to line up, but when it does, this has just been so strong. Like at the level 2, through enemy shields, because enemies can't attack, right? If they have no shields, they're not going to be attacking because they're broken. So even through enemy shields, this was hitting for like, and I'm at the point of the game where I'm still not hitting damage cap. I mean, this was hitting these 2 attacks for like 18, probably 15 to 18,000 damage every single time he got attacked. Like, it was actually an absurd amount of damage. And I'm sure at level 3, it's like even crazier. But if you can get this to line up, this will just absolutely melt enemies. Getting that to work is going to be tough. I think I'm going to want a different character with a skill to taunt onto him. I'm sure that exists in the game. I think I've seen it somewhere, but I don't know if I have it yet. But basically being able to get a skill that is able to taunt him, and then he could just parry himself and then, you know, go straight into the Fluid Stance. That's probably going to be what really makes him pop off. But honestly, it's great at breaking shields when they hit it, and it just does way more damage than you would think. Overall, a super solid character, kind of does everything you want. He's got the rare elemental defense and elemental counter. He's got good defensive skills, good offensive skills. He's even got some pretty broken supports that you can carry on later, but the mastery is not probably the best on this guy. He's more of a combat guy than using him to build other characters. All right, number 2 is Seoeris. I don't know how to say this, to be completely honest. But you get her after the Master of Fame Chapter 3, so maybe not the earliest character you can get, but still not too long into the game. And honestly, I don't even need to talk very long about this character, because most of what she has sucks. Most of it actually does suck. But she has 2 things that are great: her final support skill and her ultimate technique. The rest, she's going to sit in your back row and not do anything until she can come up and use her ultimate technique, and then you'll do that. But really, raising physical defense of an ally, not very good, because it's single target. You know, dealing 1 wind damage is okay. HP regeneration of 1 ally, not very good. Raise speed of 1 ally, not very good. Chance to inflict sleep is not very good. Wind damage to all foes, it's fine, but it exists other spots as well. And Dance of Respite is probably her best skill, the only one I would consider using, honestly. HP regeneration to the entire front row, but it's annoying because it doesn't actually give any HP. It puts on Vim and Vigor, basically, and so everyone's going to start recovering HP on the next turn. So if someone's already low, this isn't going to help. But if you do this preemptively, it could be okay. It will also give everyone SP regeneration, but still, it's just worse than using like a Mystic Shot a lot of the times on a merchant, because the merchant can give everyone like not 900, but like, I don't know, I'm giving everyone like 150 SP per attack if I want to with Mystic Shot. So even her best skill, I think, is not super good. You're probably using her for AoE wind if you need it. I wouldn't use these support skills myself, but this is where she gets good. Back row dancer means I will never not use this character for as long as I live. At the end of turn, slightly fill the ultimate technique gauge of the entire front row when the equipped character is in the back row. Now, unfortunately, if I could take this off and I could put this on everybody, I would immediately. This would be the most broken skill in the game, I think. If you could, I mean, most broken skill I've seen in the game, if you could put this on other characters, but you can't. So what she's going to do is she is going to sit in the back row and do this. However, because of the way the game is, even though her base kit is not very powerful, because she's able to learn skills, you could get certain skills that are usable from like the back row. Plus you could also get her like, you know, make her really good dagger breaker. But there's also a skill that I'm working on getting for the hunter that is, it's like when you're in the back row, you get to deal a hit. I don't know if you have to have a bow to use that. I'm still working on the build itself, but she's not going to be dead on arrival, even if she just sits in the back row. So this is kind of a boring character, but I'm telling you, back row dancer really is that strong. Ultimate techniques in this game are very powerful, especially compared to the lackluster battle skills most characters have. Their ultimate techniques are actually like 10x better most of the time, maybe 5x better than what dealing their normal skills are. And her ultimate technique is also one of the most broken ones. Grant an ally the ability to exploit weaknesses regardless of weak points for 2 turns. So this is a little more narrow than it sounds, because a lot of characters, you could use it however you want, right? It's only a single target ally. And so like, yeah, you could use it on a guy that's not weak to sword and then hit him 3 times with the sword. That's very viable and not a terrible use of it. But where this really shines is when you have bow users and you have the hunter on the protagonist specifically, or you take those skills and put them somewhere else. But the hunter on the protagonist has 2 different skills here. Where's he at? He has the rain of arrows where you deal bow damage to random foes 5 to 8 times. So if you have specifically 1 target, this could break 5 to 8 shields. Just straight up. 5 minimum shields straight up with that skill. That's a lot of shields for 1 attack. But if there's multiple enemies, you want to break 1 specific enemy, he even has the 2-tiered shot. Deal bow damage to a foe 2 times, then you move to the back row, and then at the end of the turn, you deal special bow damage to the foe 2 times. So that's 4 hits. And they even have sniper, which will, at the end of the turn, equipped character will unleash a special attack with their equipped bow when in the back row. So I don't know if this actually is random or not, but again, another way to break like 5 shields, 5 to 8 shields. This is where it's going to be really, really good. I haven't finished that build yet. I'm still grinding a lot of stuff, but this is a very good ultimate technique for breaking bosses with a huge amount of shields, especially because the bow hits can hit so many times, right? If you're able to break 5 to 8 shields on characters relatively consistently, I mean, they're going to be broken forever. But really, it is the back row dancer is still the main reason I'm running her. Slightly filling the ultimate gauge may not sound like a lot, but the ultimates come up so much more frequently. You get the ability to use them multiple times, usually in a longer combat. So absolutely a character you're going to want to be using. And then finally, Pius here, or Pius, however you want to say it. Pius is the one that's a little bit harder to get than the rest, but I also think they are the best of the characters. You get them in Kragspear, and I believe all you have to do is clear the prologue, right? Once the game starts, basically, you can go get them, but it is going to be guarded by a level 24 zone, so it might be difficult to get there, but if you're able to get there, you should be able to recruit him right away. So a little bit of trial and error, running away, trying not to die. Honestly, I think you can get him pretty easily. Maybe it's a little cheesy, but I think that's totally fair. And he's the king. All right, this guy is just the king. One, he has fire damage, which I find I still have kind of rare because I don't really use the scholar that much. There's not a lot of characters with fire damage early on. AoE attacks, but it's kind of cool. This AoE attack lets him use either of his weapon types, which is either staff or fan. Wild Strike, I'm biased. This seems really good to me. It's not really good, but I cheesed a really, really powerful early game staff here. So, right, the Forbidden Fan has plus 390 attack, so he's up 535 attack rate. He's like, so that hits really, really, really hard. Maybe I can show you guys how to get that if you guys care. But really, it comes down to heal wounds. Heal wounds means this guy could just, I mean, he's got a couple things, but being able to restore the entire front row or the entire back row. If he's in the front row, he could heal the back row or the front row. Very, very powerful skill. So much of the healing is single target. So you're either buying items, and you need a lot of money in this game. I don't recommend buying that many items. So Heal Wounds has been just crazy good for me. Sweep has been very good in general. I don't use it that much, but it has been good. Being able to prevent an ally from just getting one shot is also powerful. And if you decide you don't want him in the front row because you don't need to heal constantly, he'll just heal the character in front of him every single turn, which is honestly just a very solid amount to have. Kind of makes a character feel invincible. Maybe you put him behind like your tanking character. I like keeping him in the front row with heal wounds, and the way I've built him out, and this isn't like, I don't want to include too many of these abilities because like, who knows, like you can make any character busted, but I have a raise of physical defense of the entire front row or entire back row for 2 turns. So he's able to keep everyone's defense maxed out, and then he's able to keep everyone's HP topped off, then defense, then HP again. I also put donate BP on him. So now he becomes one, because you could just take the heal wounds and move it to somebody else. Yeah. But it's easier for me just to have given the BP and the shielding to this because he has the Scales of Justice. This is very similar to the first character we looked at, but not quite as good, but it's also better sometimes. So this lowers the physical defense and elemental defense of all foes for 2 turns, and then it raises your physical and elemental attack of all allies for 4 turns. So this one is just better for dealing damage, because all your elemental damage will also get a boost and their elemental defense is going down. So no matter what team you're on, Scales of Justice is going to be like the ultimate debuff their defenses, buff our attacks. Whereas the other character we talked about, Delidia, she lowers their physical defense and raises your physical attack, and then lowers their physical attack and raise. So it's kind of a hybrid. They cut off the elemental side and instead boost your defensive abilities as well. Whereas this says, forget the defensive stuff. We're going all in on damage. It won't make your physical damage dealers deal more than another skill, but it will allow your elemental damage dealers to be able to do that. So super, super powerful. I would say like my most used ultimate technique pretty much all the time. Also, being able to sit in the front row and heal wounds, being able to, I don't love boosting defense, something like that, but having a nice little AoE attack, having a 2-hit fire damage, being able to just, and it's honestly the heal wounds. And even if he's not in the front row, he's still doing something because he is giving the character in the front row healing for free. And it's pretty niche, but you could use things like Sacred Shield. At max charge, this will just reduce the damage taken by the next hit by 100%. If you have a way you can get this to expand to other allies, that would be really good. Otherwise, honestly, just giving them defense up is probably fine for a cheaper SP cost. Sacred Shield is good though, because that lasts for 1 hit, whereas this lasts for 2 full turns. So I think Pius here is probably the best character to get in the early game. You're just not going to regret having them. And I know there'll probably be other characters later that power creep these earlier characters, but very, very good. And again, I'm not going to say Stia isn't good. I'm not saying Fen isn't good just because I didn't include him here. In fact, I think Fen's ultimate is very good. Fen might be I really considered putting him on here, but I've been really a big fan of how powerful the ultimate techniques are. But if you don't have the ultimate techniques yet, Fen is probably going to be your best choice because he could do 2 axe hits, he could do 2 wind hits, he could do 2 bow hits, he could even do 3 bow hits. So he's kind of like the best breaker, especially in the early game. And he could boost his own attack. So like Fen is also good with a good ultimate technique. Stia is also very good with the full cheer and stuff like that. Most of her skills aren't very good, but having donate BP is very powerful. So yeah, don't take what I've said as that any of the other characters are bad. These are just ones that I think that have been the most powerful for me and ones that you probably shouldn't be ignoring. Anyway, guys, that's all for this one. Let me know which characters you agree with, which ones you disagree with, and that's all. I'll see you guys on the flip-flops. Bye!